All right, so we're taping. Old Mike, the saga of Cipes. So lost his voice, man. We should have recorded the show. It would have been interesting to see how it is when he's quiet.
Well, his strep, so
He could have signed or written something on the screen, like a whiteboard.
I'm not learning sign language for Michael.
Yeah.
And welcome back to episode 95 of the Dynasty Trades HQ.
96, right?
And if you 96, episode 96, like I said, 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Just like you said.
And welcome back to episode 96 of the Dynasty Trades HQ. I'm here with my lover, Jeremy Browand.
Oh, I thought we were on a break. I don't understand what's happening right now.
Awkward. So that's awkward. And if you hear me hosting or Cipes or Jeremy, hosting, you know that means that Cipes has run into some calamity and he is unavailable this week.
Some calamity, yes. He's on sabbatical. Let's just say that.
So Michael's unable to join us this evening, but hopefully he'll be back by our 100th episode, which is only 4 episodes away, so I'm not guaranteeing it.
Never know.
No, so I'm just going to dive right into the injury news brought to you by RotoSurance. Check out RotoSurance.com. Use Dynasty Trades HQ, all caps, for your a code to get 20% off. They call that a promo code. That's what they call it. So, everybody on the Giants is injured.
Yep.
So I don't know if this is going out tomorrow, Friday, but either way. So Evan Ingram was ruled out. Saquon Barkley was ruled out. Wayne Gallman was ruled out. And Sterling Shepard was ruled out.
Another concussion for that guy.
So, yeah, and that's getting a little scary for Shepard because he has a history of concussions, and this is the second that he's had in the span of 4 weeks.
Dude, hate to see it with football players. I mean, a lot of the injuries, they can overcome, pretty well, getting banged up. I mean, obviously these guys are getting hit all the time, but the head injuries are scary. And honestly, it seems like, I don't have the numbers, but it seems like it's more and more common for guys to get concussions or, like people say, maybe diagnosed with concussions. But I mean, nonetheless, in a sport like that, that's especially with the new helmets. That doesn't seem to be doing a damn thing. Maybe even some of those designs are making it worse. I'm not sure, and these guys run into each other full speed ahead and their helmets collide like that. Just like MMA fighters not using boxing gloves. They're not throwing those punches to the side of the head. They're punching straight ahead. They're not breaking their hands. They're not busting guys up in the temple. I think these guys hit harder because they have helmets on. I mean, look at the guys that play Australian rules football and rugby and stuff like that. I mean, they're hitting each other too, but they're just not able to fly in there at full speed with a sense of maybe what's it called?
Impunity.
Yeah, just running in there and hitting each other that fast with their heads involved in the collision. It's scary, man. I hope these guys, Jordan Reed, good football players like Shepard, aren't knocked out of the game because of the continual head injuries.
Yeah, I think Jordan Reed should just hang it up at this point.
Are you serious? No amount of money's worth losing your brain.
Yeah. We're in week 6. Plus, he signed a big contract, I believe. So he made his money. Just walk away. You're a rich young man. Plus, you're going to need that money because, not to be flippant, you're probably going to have Alzheimer's by the time you're 50.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Brain damage.
CTE, whatever. Incurred. Just, you need to keep your brain intact. Some of these guys we know, they have all kinds of, knee problems, hip problems, different things that linger after professional football. But your brain, damn, dude. Don't mess with that head.
Yeah, and real quick, just a couple things. So the helmets that they designed, the problem with the helmets is it's your brain that's banging against your skull.
Inside.
So until they can, I guess, set up some kind of cushioning inside your skull, you're kind of screwed on that front.
Yeah, it's that speed, dude. Coming to a complete stop at that speed. brain hits inside, that traumatic brain injury. And my wife deals with patients like that, and you can tell they're just not. There's something off in a lot of these cases, and you feel we love fantasy football, but God, man, step away if you're getting traumatic brain injuries every 2 weeks.
Yeah, and you know what? There's probably something to the Australian rules thing, but not just that. Other games where your head's not protected, so you definitely don't. You learn not to lead with your head.
Right,
you
exactly.
Learn how to
try to protect it a bit more.
Make your head not a weapon.
And
exactly.
Maybe they just have thicker heads,
hit guys.
Your thicker skulls, made from different stock.
I don't know, man. Maybe, but definitely, yeah. They've started diagnosing concussions a lot more than they used to in the past, because of course they just called it getting your bell rung back.
Yeah, they used to overlook
smelling
it.
Salts
right.
And get you back on there.
Wasn't looked at it as seriously as it is now. Yeah, smelling salts, like the Jets coach. Brandon Cooks has a concussion too. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's going around. It's pretty rampant.
Yeah, Brandon Cooks had a pretty bad concussion. I mean, when he went down, I thought he was dead.
Yeah.
And again, not to be flippant, he looked dead. Just like, Mason Rudolph, when he went down and they were taking his pulse on the field, and then the cart malfunctioned and they had to walk the fucking guy off the field.
Yeah, those kinds of things piss me off. The cart was broke. They took his face mask off, and he had a look on his face like everything's great. Life is so good right now. I mean, he really did. Hits like that really piss me off. These defensive players are pretty amazing, but when you fly in there and just smack a guy blindsided in the head, and it happens a lot to quarterbacks too. I'm torn. I like football in the old days. I loved it when these guys, were able to play and they didn't flag everything. But I mean, let's face it, some of these guys are just, like pit bulls. They're just they're just like dog fighting. They're running in there and just trying to knock that quarterback out. And no amount of restraint or fining is going to change the way they play. I hate to see quarterbacks be knocked out. It messes up that team, our fantasy teams. I feel pretty strongly about that shit.
Yeah,
Shane, what just happened?
Let me plug it back in.
There you go. For a second, I thought maybe it was our hangout, but you're moving. I just couldn't hear you.
No, it was me. I hit a cord. I think I got to order another goddamn cable for this Bluetooth. Or for this Blue Yeti. It's something about these just tear up USB cords in my house.
Nice. Yeah, they're thin cords. What else we got, man?
Well, so, I was just going to talk about Mason Rudolph, the fantasy football aspect of it. Right. So now we got a guy called Devlin Hodges getting ready to start.
Wait. Who? Say that again.
Devlin Hodges.
Okay.
He went to Sanford and Son University.
Sanford?
Sanford and Son University. Now, if anyone's familiar with that college, the dean of sports is Lamont, and no one's gonna get that joke. I think only old people understand what I'm talking about.
Elizabeth, yeah, Elizabeth, I'm coming.
Yeah, so he went to Lamont. No, he went to Sanford University, but he did. I'll say this: he won the Walter Payton
big dummy
player, the offensive player of the year award last year. So he was the best FCS player out there. Previous winners include the great Ryan Westbrook, and then a shit ton of guys I've never heard of. Adrian Peterson's on there too, but literally I was trying to go through the list to find like, oh, well, here's a ray of light. There was just a bunch of dudes I didn't know. So
not that much of a ray of light to think about this guy with this unknown name stepping in to replace Roethlisberger and then Rudolph on the field. Kind of scary, but I bet people are picking him up like crazy in our leagues, huh?
Oh, I picked him up everywhere I could because at this point, I mean, that's the first team that's down to their third string quarterback, but it won't be the last team. We already
probably
know that.
Not, buddy.
So, get in there early, get them, and at least he's got a good cast of weapons with Juju and Deontay Johnson.
Oh, man, starting quarterback, you got to get him. You got to pay for him. You got to do it. You just never know. Yeah. And,
and he's got
probably one of the quarterbacks that were lost this season was on your roster, Got to do it.
I'm sure there was people after week one were like, I'm not going to pick up this Gardner Minshew guy. He's he's nothing. He's nothing special at all. Well, he's been averaging up until last week. I didn't, factor that in yet, but he was averaging 18 points a game going into last week, and then he had a really good game last week. So, Yeah, look, you pick him up, you see what you got. He could be Luke Falk, and you're like, oh, okay, so I'm dropping this guy immediately. Like if MFL would let you drop Luke Falk in the middle of a game, I would have done that.
Yeah, exactly.
But whatever, you pick him up, and then Jalen Samuels is going to be out about a month with a knee scope.
Yeah, that team's kind of a mess too.
Yeah, I'm still wondering why they traded their number 1 draft pick for next year for Minka Fitzpatrick. But hey, whatever floats your boat. That'll get to, one thing that was on my mind for the last few days that our patrons have been bringing up. But yeah, you know what? Let's hear from the Scouting Academy before we get into the main body of today's show.
Scout NFL football like a pro. Invest in yourself and get a degree in player evaluation and assessment from the Scouting Academy. They've educated NFL GMs, personnel directors, and dozens of NFL scouts. Enroll today and you'll watch the same game tape NFL coaches watch. You'll learn to look past the metrics with position-by-position analysis. This is a time-tested curriculum, a chance to learn from the NFL execs and coaches. Sign up today and get a Dynasty Football Factory exclusive discount for limited time only. Save $50 when you sign up at dynastyfootballfactory.com.
Okay, so yeah, check out the Scouting Academy. If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, you might want to send your staff to the Scouting Academy because you're going to have to be looking for gems in the later rounds because you traded your number 1 pick next year when you probably should have been tanking for Tua or anything, just not trading your number 1 because they're, 0-5 now on their 3rd string quarterback. It's not looking too good for them. But that brings me to today's topic. We actually have a topic for a change, which is pretty weird for us because usually we're pretty off the cuff. We have a rough idea what we want to talk about. But a lot of talk in our Patreon chat. If you're not a patron, you should be because patrons are better than the folks that aren't. It's just a scientific fact. No, it's a scientific fact.
They're pretty cool.
I did a science study. I did a hypothesis. And my hypothesis was patrons are better than non-patrons. Then I ran studies to confirm it. There was a lot of beakers involved and some of those Bunsen burners.
Really? You were doing chemistry experiments to try to figure out the statistics on that. Yeah.
So the results came back pretty positive that patrons are better than non-patrons. So you know what it is. Well, you can't argue with science.
I'll tell you what, our listeners at large outnumber our patrons, but I'm glad we have both. I'll tell you that.
No, yeah, I love them all. I just love patrons a lot more. So what we wanted to talk about, and we're going to get into, is tanking. And I've actually heard a couple other podcasts kind of get into it a little bit, but I didn't think of it because of the other podcasts. I thought of it because of the patron chat, and also, I guess we're at that point of the season where people are looking at their rosters and going, "Yeah, I'm 0-5, and I'm not going to win shit this year. So let's start looking to the future." So one of the things that caught my eye in the patron chat is we were talking about the right way to tank. And we don't mean, and we'll get into that later, like, yo, do I trade this for that or this for that? We mean legitimately, like, is there a good or is there a correct way to tank versus a bad way to tank? Is it okay when you're tanking to set a lineup with inactive players on it? Jeremy? You're the only other guy here, so I'm asking you.
Right, yeah. Well, I just was waiting for a pause in your monologue to be able to kind of sneak in there on this. Yeah, I mean, it depends on how the league defines tanking, because I'm in leagues where I really don't care if you tank. And in other leagues, I might feel a little bit differently based on, the settings and whether it's happening now or late in the season, insulating a team that's already good in the playoffs if I'm not that team. I mean, it just depends on how the league at large looks at it. I'm in my home league it's separated from top to bottom by basically one game separates the best teams from the worst teams. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of parity there. I don't think anybody's going to tank in that league. There's really not a need to because everyone's still in it and it's head to head. I'm in some best ball leagues where by week 6, if you're not in the upper echelon of teams or the upper half, if you're near the bottom, your prospects for finishing at the top of that league and winning are pretty much shot, especially in a dynasty. So I see it more often, the acceptable kind of tanking in a best ball dynasty league, when you're able to, move your assets that are your greatest ones for future picks. And I know that's not what you're defining as tanking, but you're basically still punting your chance to score. By getting rid of your best players, you're forfeiting this year for next year. So in a way, it's still a form of tanking. It's just more acceptable. It's not literally, just giving up any ability to compete. You're just forfeiting it to next year. And, like I said, in a best ball league like that, you just don't have much of a chance to come back once you're down and out of it. And I'm in one of those right now. And I just traded Katie Flower. I traded Tom Brady and AJ Green. I had a really competitive team. I won before. I've been in the top of this league in the playoffs, and this isn't my year. Maybe I held on to some of these guys too long, but I just don't have enough assets to pull it out. I'm maybe third from the bottom of this league. So I traded Brady and AJ Green to her because I'm punting and I can't win this season. And I got Herbert and a quarterback in Oregon. I got a really high-profile wide receiver that most people know, and a Devy first-round pick. And, basically a first-round wide receiver and then a first-round Devy pick. And, maybe I could have gotten more, but the reason I did that was just to, bank on the future. I was out of it. So do you look at that in any way as tanking and giving up on the season? Does it depend on your record for you, Shane? Does it depend on what factors contribute to it being called tanking and not tanking? Because that's the first place you got to start. What's the definition for you?
Well, for me, it's selling all your assets. Well, not all of your assets, but selling a lot of your assets, especially obviously the aging ones, the one-off type guys like, say, John Hillman, I think that's his name. He's going to get the start for the Giants tomorrow. Say he goes out there and just runs, 15 for 130 and 5 receptions for 60 yards. And then the Giants are like, we have to work this guy in the rest of the year. Like a one-off guy like that. There's no way that's going to be a long-term success. We know it. He's not going to hit. He's undrafted. He was he was on the street until last week. Selling guys like that. But, in short, because I know I can get very verbose, some might even say I'm a verbose motherfucker. I would say it's basically trying to not win this year because you're already out of it, and accruing young assets, players, or multiple picks.
So you're saying that is a form of tanking. You accept that as you accept that as a tolerable form of tanking, or you're saying that is not tanking?
No, I'm saying that is tanking. That's basically you're not. So this is where I guess it gets a little shaky. Is you're not trying to win, right? It's really not your main goal. If somehow you should happen to win, great, whatever, fine. But that's not your main goal. But it's weird because then I get into the issue. Well, does that mean you should penalize or kick people out of the league that don't set lineups? Or they put guys in there that are on buys.
Yeah, I think you have to pay attention to that. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's not in good faith. They're not doing their due diligence. It's not ideal for the league for a team to just sit their players, and that's why I said there are some gray areas here, and there's a fine line between acceptable tanking and not acceptable tanking, and I think it depends on the league. Like, I accidentally started Saquon Barkley last week in kitchen sink, and I forgot about it. I have so many leagues. I said it, and I went back and reset my rosters again on Sunday, and on my phone, and I wasn't home, and excuses. But I missed that Barkley was out. I didn't see that he was out or going to be out. Of course, the same thing happened to me with Tyrell Williams, and he wasn't out on MFL until like 10 minutes before the game or something. And I'd already set my lineups, but so it's possible to make a mistake and start a player that's out for that game. But I mean, if guys are doing that clearly, more than once, clearly trying to start their worst roster or a bad roster, I mean, you can vet that as a commissioner and handle it. Most of the leagues I'm in, you can't start players on bye. There's one way to avoid that, just in your settings. But I think if teams do that, I consider it tanking. Now, whether you care or not, it's different. But you can definitely employ things through your commissioner abilities to avoid some of it. Can't start players on a bye, or if they're IR, just different things. I don't care if a team tanks as much as some people do. I've grown to not care about it because I realize that team's not winning money this year, and I'm trying to. So it's one less team to worry about. And I feel like the fairer your league is, the more open it is, the greater the marketplace. It's like water rising to its own level. Sooner or later, everything's going to even out as long as all the owners have, the same abilities to manage their team, and you don't have a lot of constraints on them. I agree, though, that it sucks when you're we're trying to compete for the league title, and one of us in the last week is playing a team that's clearly not starting their best lineup.
Yeah, see, and that's what I have a problem with when guys do stuff like that.
Throws
like
it all
you might
off.
have, like someone's tanking, they have Julio Jones on their roster, and they're like, you know what? I'm going to sit Julio Jones for Oba Alaba Johnson, the Minnesota Vikings wide receiver. Him, that guy.
That guy.
You know what I mean? Like at that point, I'm like, that's not even good faith. Like I understand what tanking is. Look, the Sixers, I lived through the process, right? The Sixers went about it, took a little longer than I'd like, but either way, they went about the process the correct way. They still did their best with the players they had.
Yeah, the limitations they put on themselves. And you know what? Like most pro teams that go into it and you realize they're probably tanking, they're actually seeing what they do have out of some of the guys that, maybe you don't really consider starters. They're, seeing what they've got, getting a better sense for their team, their finger on the pulse for next year. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
And exactly, like they, and it obviously there's differences because that's a real team. You're running real players out there, blah blah blah, whatever.
Sure.
But
Real
even
money.
in fantasy, so there's a league I'm clearly tanking in, and we'll get into a couple trades that I did later. But I'm still trying to pick up people, because I'm not going to I have empty roster spots. I'm like, all right, I got a lot of cash. I might as well pick up Ryan Izzo. Was last week a flash? Probably, but whatever. Maybe he becomes the next Gronk. I'm picking up Olabisi Johnson, Byron Pringle, Devlin Hodges, players like that.
Sure.
Because, for one, if they do put together one or two good weeks together and I'm still a bad team, well, that's another asset I can sell, even if it is for a fourth or a third, which, I always joke about saying that they're not meaningful, but they are when you're trying to close the gaps on certain trades.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Use later round picks to do.
I don't mind guys like you doing that in my league, Shane. I think that's perfectly acceptable.
And that's my feeling on it. Now, I know other people might feel that it's, look, tanking is tanking any way you look at it, so it shouldn't matter how I get
but
there.
You've got to
treat
treat this
all my starters.
Yeah, I get it. But you've got to treat this as somewhat of a free market. Everybody in the league pays their dues, and let's assume everybody's competitive. Everyone knows you're competitive. I think most people realize I am too. Say we're in a league together, you're doing what you just said, and I have a competitive team. You're really not affecting my ability to win. You're not affecting the integrity of the league either. Here's why. While you're punting this season away for the future, if I stop you as commissioner from doing that, then I'm affecting your ability to make your team better. You already know you're out of it. You've accepted that you don't have a shot in hell to win this year. It's unlikely to happen, so you may as well. You want to be in this dynasty league for a long time. You may as well bet on the future. There are teams that are going to take your assets. And, okay, you're not going to win any games because you're even angling for a top 3 pick with your first rounder. If I stop you from doing that, I'm not only affecting the integrity of the league going forward. Your ability to manage your team so that you can stay in this league and be competitive next year and year after that. This year's a wash for you. Every year you have teams that it's going to be a wash for them. And if you think of it that way, instead of just trying to protect the sanctity of this one season for the better teams and make sure that games are even, I think that's like looking at things way too microscopically. Like you're down in the weeds in it. You're not thinking big picture for the entirety of the league. I mean, you're never going to have all 12 teams be awesome every season anyway.
No, and that would end up with everybody being 6-6. I'm not sure if that math would work out. But in my head,
6-6 playoff teams, yeah.
Yeah. everybody would be 6-6, separated by 3 points. And then we'd have to go to like the 15th tiebreaker, which no one understands.
I feel like that meme, or like you like to pronounce it, that mame, where that guy's counting on his fingers and you still can't figure it out. It's like, wait.
Yeah. And then the proper pronunciation is mame.
Mame.
It's French.
Paper mame.
And it's French for funny moving picture. So I'm actually tanking, just a little bit of trade alert here. I didn't purposely go into the season tanking in the listener league, but fates have conspired to tell me that I'm tanking. So I actually made a trade.
I think your record's conspiring to tell you you're tanking.
Yeah.
Or you better.
Yeah. I mean, I tried to go 0 running back in this league, and I've probably averaged about 6 points a week out of my running back position. So that's how that's gone. I got a lot of good young wide receivers, though, like J.J. Arcega-Whiteside and A.J. Brown, and I traded for Tyler Boyd, and I have DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel. Not Samuel Curtis. I don't know who Samuel Curtis is, but I don't own him. I actually traded with Mr. Stompy of FF Mercs, Dynasty Diagnostics, FF Statistics. He's just everywhere. You know him, the reigning SFB champ. So I traded him Carson Wentz, who I love, obviously, for my first round pick. I got my first round pick back from him. I'm winless in this league.
Yeah,
it's looking damn close that I will be the worst team in the league. Although there are a couple other teams vying for that. I want to say honor. Is honor the right word?
Yeah, I think it's fine to say that. And you were competitive last year. Like, you didn't lose until the playoffs, so you had a quite a downward spiral since then, buddy.
I definitely hit some. I made the playoffs. I was fine there, and then lost in the playoffs, and it's just been all downhill since then. But I'm currently actually 0-5 in this league, so I'm pretty proud of that. But it's the points. Right now I'm up 100. I guess I'm up is the way I would describe it. Yeah, I'm up 120 points on the next worst team. Yeah, well, just looking at the math, I got 2 teams that I need to do much worse than. I guess is the right way.
Yeah, Heiserhoff, who's also 0-5. Yeah, and running Chalk,
there's a couple
who's
of
also
us 0-5 guys.
Yeah.
Right, battling it out. Right now, I'm the high-scoring 0-5 team.
Yep.
Which is like, being the ugliest pig in a pretty pig contest or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. So I got some points to make up or lose, but luckily for me, the only starting quarterback I have on my roster now is Kirk Cousins, so that'll help. And I got Colt McCoy, who just got sent back to the bench. Son of a bitch.
Yeah, son of a gun. What's going on there?
Yeah, he's back to the bench, and Case Keenum's taken over again, and so I made a bunch of trades. I picked up some picks. Basically, like I said, I knew that I'm not doing well this year, and my goal is not even to. I don't even want to use my first round pick. My hope is just that I can trade it to a couple other, trade it back for a couple other picks if possible.
Yeah.
And looking long term at this, that might even include if someone during the draft offers me a first round pick this year that's later in the rookie draft and a first round the following year, I might take that because
big time.
The team needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
Need some work.
I have nothing to offer you for Kirk Cousins, or I would.
Don't worry about that. I checked. I went through every roster of everybody that's contending. And saw what picks they had, second rounders, things like that. Just anything I could grab. And, now I have 3 2021 picks. I have a couple second rounders in this upcoming draft and the first rounder, which right now is the 103. So, we'll see what happens. But I'm still trying. I'm not trying to, I don't think I'm going to win picking up the guys I'm picking up off the waiver wire. But I'm still going to put the best team I can out there every week, consisting of out of the players that I have. So a perfect example of that is I will not be starting Colt McCoy this week due to the fact
that he's not playing this week.
Quarterback. Yeah. So if you do that, I think it's wrong. And everything's not black and white, but that's definitely in that gray area where I feel confident to say, if you did that in a league that I was in, I wouldn't want you in my league. but I don't commission any leagues because that's too much work, so it wouldn't be up to me.
Yeah, I don't love it. And I'm fortunate to be in some long-standing leagues where no one does that. I guess too proud to a fault to, pull something like that. One game separating first to worst. That's kind of cool. I'm not in a lot of leagues like that, but at the same time, I guess in a league full of, in a dynasty league full of people that I don't know, it really has to be spelled out because people feel much differently than than we do, or the opinions differ, and that can just lead to strife in a league. And you really need to go into it understanding that either the commish or the league, what's acceptable and what's not. But it is one of those unspoken things. I don't see it in bylaws. You see anti-tanking, things written in there, anti-collusion, which is awful. Obviously, those two guys need to be kicked out. But where do you draw the line on things like collusion? Because it's spelled out what collusion really means. Two teams conspiring for one team basically to succeed or win deals and be put in a position. You could almost argue when I traded away my Devy pick, Tom Brady and AJ Green, though they're not probably going to help anybody win a league necessarily this year. Trading them away for Devy picks is helping that team and not really helping me do anything this year. But like I said, in a best ball league, it's pretty much understood. And I looked and I'm second from the bottom. Rondale Moore isn't helping that person this year, but Rondale Moore and Justin Herbert and that first round Devy pick's going to help me going forward. So we both won. So you have to step back and look at a big picture. We both won. It's just only one team's got a shot at winning this year, and I think that's fine.
I like it. I like your response there. It's very good.
Oh, thank you.
So yeah, and I guess, and then for you, I guess, when do you think it's appropriate to tank? So you're 3-3. Well, you would have played more games than everyone else if you did that. Say you're 3-2. Okay. So you're technically the 6th seed right now in the playoffs. So you would make the playoffs. But then you look at the teams behind you that are 2-3. Say there's 3 of those, and every one of them has outscored you by 150 points. Is that time to go? And you know the players that you have are playing over their skis. Basically, it's not like you're filled with Odell Beckham and Michael Thomas.
You got guys playing at their ceiling, and that's unsustainable.
Right. Guys that keep having, you keep lucking out. You just keep hitting the right buttons. Last week, you happened to start Gerald Everett because you're psychic.
Yeah, you'd have to
stuff
be
like that keeps happening to you. Or there's one league I'm in. I think I'm like 4-1 because of 4-1, no doubleheaders, and I have like the 4th lowest points scored. Just because every week I play someone, they seem to put up their worst week for whatever reason.
Yeah, or I'm in leagues where I always seem to play everybody having their best week, or I look at the points against, and I've got the highest points against, and of course I don't have the best record because of that, and a lot of luck plays a factor. But are you saying that the people behind you, the teams behind you, have scored more points than you, and you don't have a chance to really win the league even though you're at the top? And so what's your move going to be? What's your plan?
Are you going to tank, or are you going to ride it out and just see where the money goes?
You know what? I think I'd try to win it if I was already at the top 5 games in. But it depends. I can't say that definitively because a lot of factors at play. But I'd probably, knowing me, I'd try to win it this year.
So you figure you're going to need at least 7 wins typically to make your playoffs, even as a 6th seed. At least that's been in my experience in 12-team leagues, 13-week seasons. You're going to need at least 7 wins.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking if you're 3-2, that means you can go 4 and if we do the math, 4-4. So if you just go 500.
I think you're already, most of the way there. Yeah, that's, and that's legit math. You have to win 4 more games.
Yes, I did math right. Look, I step my game up when Cipes isn't here. I'm doing math correctly.
I
did science experiments. Look, I know what I'm doing. I got to be honest with you. That 3-2, I'm a pessimist.
Yeah.
So I'd assume that the bottom's going to immediately fall out, and I would probably sell everything
And
in
it
sight.
might, but won't you feel better about it if you actually tried to win the league? I mean, that'd be satisfying, especially if you at least made the title game, knowing that your team's, exceeding expectations and they're all at their seat playing at their ceiling. But if you could squeeze out 4 more games over the rest of the season, get into the playoffs and see what you could do, would you not feel better about that than just kind of selling off assets now and letting the teams in 2nd, 3rd, 4th place vie for the title? I mean, no,
screw that. I look long term and I go, is this team really built to compete?
Gotcha.
Do I want to be, the 76ers before the process where I'm always the 8th seed or whatever the equivalent, the 6th seed in, this league is.
The Heat before they got LeBron.
Right. And then, you know what, in most leagues, and if you don't do this, you should do this, that last playoff spot should be reserved for the team. The last team in should be the one with the most points scored.
I like that. But in my leagues, I'd be fine with you taking that approach because you should be able to handle your team however you want to handle it. By doing so, you're probably going to stick in it longer. You're going to have more fun because I'm not controlling you to the extent that I'm telling you, well, you're at the top. You have to win this seat. You have to try to win every game. Oh, man, that's not your style. Maybe you're like the Big Lebowski,
Man, I hear it. I hear you. So, you know what? Before we go any further, I think we should go ahead and hear from DraftKings because they got a special promo that they're working on with Dynasty Football Factory. Yeah, so let's check that out.
DynastyFootballFactory.com has it all. Impact articles, a full scope of fantasy football rankings, ADP, and exclusive members-only access to Factory Sports Slack channel, Dynasty, Redraft, IDP, Devi, and even DFS. A Factory Sports membership unlocks it all, and annual memberships are free. That's right, we've partnered with DraftKings to bring you your annual sports membership for free. Just go to DynastyFootballFactory.com/shop and click on the DraftKings membership promo. Sign up for your DraftKings account, deposit just $20, and you'll receive a free $10 bonus and free Factory Sports annual membership. Eligibility and restrictions apply. See website for details. So act now and become a Factory Sports member for free. Visit DynastyFootballFactory.com/shop today.
So we've been talking about tanking for a little bit because I got to be honest with you, it's fun. I guess it's tanking season. Like I said, you look at your rosters now, a lot of people are making determinations like, hey, can I go for it?
Oh, yeah, it's a pivotal time. I mean, you better know where you're going. Make some trades if you're trying to win it and you're not quite at the top of your league, or, make some trades to get out of it and pick up those future assets. I think you're right. I mean, and this season's been so crazy that I actually started thinking about those things like a week earlier than normal.
Yeah, and just a note to our listeners, or well, I guess no one else would be listening if you're not our listener. But just a note to our listeners, just make sure you're looking for that points for and points against, man. If it's just been dumb luck every week, be realistic. Optimism's a great thing, but if you are being outscored by 300 points on the season, you're definitely getting lucky, and those things do tend to correct themselves as the year goes on. But if you're 5-0, it's a little different because you only need to pull out 2 more wins. And if you're at that point, then I'd say, you know what, I don't care if you're getting outscored. Maybe you are getting lucky every week, but if you're 5-0, you only need 2 more wins, and you're in the playoffs. So go for it.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, go for it. That's going to be a new T-shirt, I think. So I actually have a trade alert.
I'm sure you do. What is it?
Okay, so this is going to just be this is all one league, Jeremy.
Dude,
I don't know if you can handle this.
I probably can't.
All right. This team is trash. Well, it's actually not trash, which makes this a little more disconcerting. And this is a Superflex 14-team league. Currently, I have the second worst team in the league. I'm 160 points behind or ahead of the 14th place team, however you want to look at it. I need to unmake up 160 points. That's how you would say that, I guess?
Wow. So you're 160 points ahead of the 14th place team to get like the first overall pick in the rookie draft.
Exactly. So right now I'll be sitting at the 102.
Okay.
So the very first trade I made, I made it known, you know me, I made it known like, look, guys, my team's trash. I'm ready to put the season to bed. Let's make these moves. Let's make them this
Well,
week
and
so
I
I can get
mean,
my stuff together.
I get it. You're a pro at this. I mean, there are so many teams of yours that are in this situation where you know how to handle this. I'm kidding.
Well, here's the thing. So, and I was thinking about this the other day too. I love that, when you listen to other podcasts, not every podcast, but other podcasts, you would swear some people have never had losing teams.
Yeah, they win every week, all season long on every team. Yeah, they're lying if they say that.
Never gone through the rebuilding process. All their teams are fucking 14-0 at the beginning of they're all the New England Patriots 19-0.
Right.
All of them.
What's the reality though? You have some in first, you have some in last, like I have a couple, or some in the upper echelon of the league, and then I have a few that are in the bottom 3 or 4, and you just manage it in a different way, but you still manage it because you're looking ahead. But yeah, and nobody wins in every league all the time. I mean, there's just no way.
I got to be honest with you. I don't think anybody wants to hear about leagues I'm winning in. I don't really think that's fun for them. I think
you're right.
no one wants to check in and and hear from a show that's just like, well, I'm winning again.
I won again. All my players won again.
They're all great.
I'm the best.
Great. Everything's great. Everything is awesome, like the Lego song. Anyway, all that said, so again, I let everyone know, look, I'm in the trash business. I'm out. So I received an offer in this league from another owner, and I accepted. I sent him Joseph Flacco, who is awful, very awful.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah, and I gave him AJ Green as well, who is not someone I'd want to give up, but in this situation, it makes absolutely no sense to hold on to AJ Green. And in return, I got back Cameron Newton, Nate Sudfeld. I didn't ask for him, but whatever, I'd take him. 2020 second and a 2020 third.
Well, I mean, you got Cam Newton for Flacco and AJ Green.
Yeah, that's basically the long and the short of it. Oh, in the second round,
and you got some picks. Well, I mean, I'd do that. I mean, I know Cam Newton's hurt, so you're kind of this season you're not counting on him as much. And Flacco rediscovered how to throw a football, and AJ Green, we love AJ Green, but the dude is, it's AJ Green that gets hurt, plays on the shitty Cincinnati Bengals right now, may not come back, may not, we don't know. And he's, 31-year-old guy closing in on. I think you win this trade. Yeah. Plus, you're not going to win games because Cam Newton's on your bench.
Exactly. I mean, for this guy, he needs a quarterback that can actually play. Which, for me, it's not really a consideration at this point.
Yeah.
So he gets himself a quarterback that can play right now, and then he gets a wide receiver when he comes back, assuming he comes back in the next couple of weeks, is we've seen what AJ Green can do. He's AJ fucking Green. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, bro.
Yeah. So then the next trade, and this one hurt a little bit. Well, this doesn't hurt as much, but we'll get there. So the next trade, same league. God damn it. This hurts me to even say. I gave up Marlon Mack and 2023. And the 2023 I actually gave up was the one I just got in the earlier trade.
Got it.
Yeah. So in return, I got back Ronald Jones, a 2021 and a 2022.
Yeah, really? That's decent.
Yeah, look, Mac, I love him. I don't know that this team is going to be competing even next year. So basically, I'm projecting out. If this team is competing in 2 more years, is Marlon Mack still going to be useful to me? Probably not.
Yeah, I think you give up Marlon Mack, borderline guy in your head. You give him up for Ronald Jones and the 2020 first and second, in this upcoming draft. I think you won that one too.
Yeah, and I love Ronald Jones. I know fantasy Twitter is not really a fan of the Ronald.
I don't love either of those guys, but I like them both. Probably better, greater than average. So 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Which one do you want? But in this case, doesn't even matter. Like straight up, who you think is going to be better down the line? You got those 2 picks, and a 2021 is nothing to sniff at. You can turn that pick into something else too as soon as we get closer to the rookie draft or held during it.
Yep. And, look, Ronald Jones, best thing about him is I came up with a cool nickname for him, Mr. Rojo Rising.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, it's pretty
like
good.
The Doors, Mr.
I'm especially proud of
Mojo
that.
Rising.
Yeah. I don't do well with nicknames. Usually I just call people by their full names. But yeah, I like that. Anyway.
It's easier to pronounce too.
Yeah. So just one note on that trade I wanted to mention is, the other owner was very shaky on the trade. He wasn't really feeling giving up the second. Basically, the second we were at an impasse. So I just said, you know what? I got this third. Let me just throw that third in there because I know it'll make the trade go through, basically.
Sure. Yeah, good job.
Yeah, so, we were negotiating, which I don't like doing. We were actually talking back and forth, which is the worst. Yeah. But sometimes you got to break down and do it. And just for anyone out there that thinks like a second and a third don't make much of a difference, I'm going to say that they do. Psychologically, having a second-round pick compared to a third-round pick in an offer makes a huge difference when you're looking at it. Because most people still look at a second-round picks as being very valuable, especially in this draft coming up. So this is a trade coming up next that, in hindsight, this is where me being me and being too impatient cost me. Yeah, so I'm going to lose this trade, but that's fine. We'll get there. So I gave up Joseph Mixon, who I love, Miles Sanders, who, how I feel about him, and Curtis Samuel. And I got back Michael Gallup and a 2020 first.
Yeah, Dirty Harry won that trade in my opinion, and I don't love Mixon, and I'm okay with Sanders, and I do love Curtis Samuel, but I mean that's not the point. I mean, you got the first round pick, but people would give more than a first round pick in a lot of cases just for Joe Mixon and Curtis Samuel. You could definitely get the first. So Gallup for Sanders. I mean that's kind of the wash. I wish you would have gotten more in return for giving up those three players.
Yeah, and that's, that was the overarching message I got from the chat room on that. But, you know me.
Stick to your guns, baby.
Yeah, I'm learning to accept that this is who I am. I'm going to lose out on value on players sometimes because I'm just like, look, I want this done and over with. I got 39 other leagues that need my attention. This ain't one of them anymore.
Oh yeah, I can't do the trade negotiations. In fact, I think a lot of people don't enjoy trading with me because they send me offers and I just reject it. No counter, no foreplay, no nothing. Just no. And if it's a player that I don't want or care for or need, if they send me an offer, I may counter. I might come up with something. But if it's a player that I want to keep, that I'm not interested in trading away, if they don't give me something to chew on, if it's just lousy, I'm kind of done. I mean, I'm not done. I don't have the patience or the time to dedicate to it. I just too many leagues.
Yep, I hear you. But the big drawing point of that trade was the 2020 first I got back was actually my own. So again, right now it's the 102.
So you're netting even on getting your picks back.
I got back my pick,
commendable.
The first, that I traded. If I know, probably during the last rookie draft.
So I'm counting up. You got a first. You got a 2020 first. Make that 2020 first. A 2020 second. Two 2020 seconds. A 2020 third. Cam Newton. Nate
Michael
Sudfeld. Ronald Jones.
Oh yeah, Ronald Jones
and Michael Gallup. I mean, that's good with those picks coming back like that.
Yeah. So then next trick. Oh my goodness,
it was a trick. You tricked this guy.
I didn't mean a trick. I did not mean a trick. I'm sorry. That's a different job. I didn't mean to bring that up on air.
It's cool.
If the Feds is listening.
Come on, man. You're giving them too much. This is not the Patreon episode.
No. You're right. So, and then the next one, just a small trade. And I didn't make this offer. Someone offered me a 2020 third for Deshaun Jackson. Yeah. I love Deshaun, but he's not helping my team this year, and he's not helping my real team because he hasn't played since week 2, and he's going to be out again this week, and they're shooting at maybe in 2 weeks he'll actually play.
Yeah, man, that's a player that I love in best ball because he has those big explosive weeks. But, age is a factor, size is a factor. He's been in the league a long time. He's great when he's great. But all those weeks where he's not and you have to try to figure it all out, no, I don't want that guy. I mean, you may as well get something. And what you were saying earlier about getting the second-round picks and, hey, I'll throw in a third to get a second. If you go back and look and see how many players you hit on in the second round, you might be astounded. You might have done better in your second-round picks in some cases than your middling first-round picks. I've been really successful. I was looking at it over time in the second round. Like, that's my sweet spot. I cherry pick on the players that I like that people overlooked, where I've traded up to the top of the second and not spent the capital in the first round. And this is a story for another show probably. But the second round, I can say, is definitely a sweet spot for getting talent in the NFL, guys that fall through the cracks for your, on your other owners.
Yep, I hear you. So then we got one final trade that I made today, and all these trades are over the span of
this is
less
like a
than 24
marathon
hours.
of trades.
Just one more trade. So I moved Francis Gore and his elderly self and a third-round pick that I acquired in one of these trades for a 2020 second.
In your situation, that's a good thing to do. Come away with all these second-round picks. You don't want Frank Gore this season. Who knows, man? Eventually that guy's going to retire. He's helping a team that's trying to win it for sure. But yeah, and add that to a 2020 third. I think that's fair. Got another second. So the net in this with your picks is pretty crazy. I'm going to call you Shane Ironman Manila. You're like the Ironman triathlon guys with 5 trades to get to the bottom of that with all of your picks.
Yeah. So I end up with 3 first-round picks, one that's obviously going to be in the top 2 unless something historic happens, and then 3 second-rounders, and also picked up Cam Newton, Michael Gallup, and Ronald Jones, and like Nate Sudfeld for, if that matters, not even a little bit.
And Cam Newton's not going anywhere next year. I mean, if you add all that up, I think you might have come out. I think he came out ahead on this because Cam Newton's going to stop being a vegan, maybe eat some fish and chicken, and realize that when you play NFL football, you can't eat like that.
No,
he's going to turn it around. On that. Yeah, I like it for you, man.
Studied it. Yeah, I haven't studied it, and I think maybe that'll be my next hypothesis.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to address the way you draft these teams that end up in last place, that you have to, turn around and have all this fun trading to make them different. But this was an interesting series of trades where you came out on top, and you're also demonstrating that not only is tanking fun, but it's also, it can be rewarding, especially if you're looking beyond this season and you're fine with it.
Yeah, and you know what? Going into it, and I had some assets, but 0-6 or 0-5, I forget. I think it's a doubleheader league. No, 0-5. I don't fucking know. Whatever. 0-something. 0-something. I was second worst team, and looking at the roster, just didn't see a way that it was going to turn around. But look, now I got Josh Allen at quarterback and Daniel Jones and Cam Newton. So we'll see how it goes. If anyone gives a shit, I'll check in on this team next year when I pick DeAndre Swift and Travis Etienne and Cam Akers, and then I win the championship next year.
Hey, let me ask you a quick question. I'm going to ask you for your advice. This is an offer that was just sent out to me via DM on Twitter. And it's somebody that if I send this offer to them, they're going to accept it. But basically, hey, do you still want Julio in this league? And I think I'm in first place. I didn't check the standings this week because I've been too damn busy. That sounds like crap, but it's true. I haven't checked the standings. I was in first place. I may have been undefeated, maybe 1 loss, but I'm at the top of the league. I won it last year in the inaugural season. I think I can win it again. I'm after Julio Jones. It's like, hey, will you take Julio? All I want is Marlon Mack and Kenny Galladay. And I'm thinking I'm going to do it because I'm all about winning this season, and I don't really think that Mack and Galladay are going to set me back tremendously in this one anyway. I love Galladay, though, but, I think Julio, I'm all for trying, me, I'm trying to increase the margin of my one starter one position, make it a little bit stronger, just one starter a little bit stronger than before. And I think this might help me get there for this year. But I'd hate to give away Galladay to do it, and I might ask for something in addition, because I'm thinking this for points might be it for Julio. Like, I'm not going to be able to do it next year, trading for Julio.
Yeah. The only problem with that is Marlon Mack's, I think he's running back 15 right now. Someone told me, or running back 13.
He's definitely closing in on, possibly being a running back 1. He's a high-end running back 2 for sure.
So that's a very significant piece you have to replace in your starting lineup.
Yep.
I don't know what the rest of your roster looks like, but I'm assuming you don't have a high-end RB2/1 just floating around.
That's a great point.
In there.
And actually, I'm 5-0 in this league, so I did win again. I don't know what I was thinking with my record, because we've only played. You have me thrown off now. I'm thinking we played more than 5 games this NFL season. That's how damn long this season has felt. It's been a wild one, man. So 5 games down. Here's the thing: our lineups, and this happens to me in all of the shallower starting lineups. I end up having Galladay on my bench almost every week, or I'll have Marlon Mack on my bench every week, because we only start 9. So here's the thing: it's a super flex league. So I have Matt Ryan, Deshaun Watson, and Andy Dalton. So I'm rolling out, most weeks Deshaun Watson and Matt Ryan. There's 2. Case in point, last week I started Austin Eckler and I started Derrick Henry. There's 4. I started Adam Thielen and Michael Thomas. There's 6. I started Austin Hooper and Travis Kelce. That's 8, right? 2, 4, 6, 8. I hope I didn't start 8 and win and not start a 9th guy. But anyways, let's just say my 9th. This is who I'd have to choose from for my 9th player. Now, Kyle Rudolph in the past was one of those guys I'd have to choose from, but he's been terrible this season, and you're not looking at him. I have Sammy Watkins, Terry McLaurin, Deontay Johnson, Kenny Galladay, Paris Campbell, Riley Ridley, Marlon Mack, Devin Singletary, Carlos Hyde. So, I don't have tremendous depth, but I have had weeks where I'm like, you know what? I feel like I have 2 or 3 players more than I need, and I'd like to have one more ace in the hole. And so if this were like start 10 or 11, I probably wouldn't trade for Julio, because I'd be rolling out Marlon Mack and Kenny Galladay. Instead, I'm choosing between Mack and Galladay and other guys every week. So the conundrum for me is get one of my favorite players and maybe boost this team, or just keep leaving these guys on the bench in case Adam Thielen, Michael Thomas, Hooper, Kelce, Eckler, Henry, get hurt. I don't know, man. I think it's a toss-up, but...
I mean, if I could find a way to give him Terry McLaurin and Marlon Mack,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Even in a 9 team, like, I get the frustration every week of being like, who the hell, or 9-man roster, like, who the hell do I bench? But I feel like that's a better problem to have.
Yeah, it is a good problem to have for sure. There's no doubt about it.
Because, I mean, I haven't looked Galladay up, but I feel like he's at least a high-end wide receiver 2 right now. It could be wrong.
Yeah, you're right.
With about 3 years on, maybe 4 years on Julio at this point. I think I know Galladay's 26 or 27.
Yeah, Galladay's so far this season's been a high-end wide receiver 3, but he's tied with guys that are, or he's a few points in PPR behind guys that are wide receiver 2s, like Hilton, Marquise Brown, Robert Woods, Terry McLaurin, Juju Smith-Schuster, Emmanuel Sanders. No, he's in that same mix of guys that are practically tied in points. So I mean, I get it. Whereas Julio Jones is 20 points ahead of Galladay and all those guys I just mentioned, and he's Julio Jones. And so I'm thinking I go from having 66 points on the season to 84 in just one of my starting spots, if that holds for the rest of the year. And so I've just increased my margin of victory by, a few points a week, because I'm sitting those other guys anyway.
Yeah, you're looking at 4 points a week. I forget if Detroit's been on a bye already.
Yeah,
or not.
Detroit was on a bye last week, right, or the week before?
All right, and Atlanta hasn't been though.
Right.
So it's actually divided by 4, which would be I'm doing too much math in my head. First blush, sitting down, thinking about this, I think I'm going to reject it. I do not want to give up Galladay. I was clearly wrong on Darrell Bevel destroying that offense. He's thrown enough.
Yeah, you'd said that they're only going to have one viable wide receiver, but I mean, you forget the degree of difference that these coordinators have with quarterbacks. Everybody hates, Matt Stafford. Well, I shouldn't say that. A lot of people love Matt Stafford, including me, but people, rag on Matt Stafford, but he's able to distribute the ball. He's shown that. And he has a hell of an arm, and he's run the offense, and I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. That's not the story we're telling, though. And I remember we had these conversations about Darrell Bevell coming in and, one wide receiver. Who's it going to be? Is it Galladay? Is it Marvin Jones? It's turned out that they're spreading the ball around pretty well, even to Marlon Mack. I didn't mean to say that. I meant to carry on. They're spreading the ball to even Kerryon Johnson's gotten some nice catches. So I don't know, man. You can't stick to one story, I guess, on this. Chris Godwin leading the league in PPR, though, that's not going to stand.
No, I don't know, man. Arians does love, targeting the slot receiver in his offense. It's just, I would feel better if it was Evans because I own more. Well, you know what? I actually own more Godwin than Evans, so whatever. Go for it, Godwin. Look, the problem is Evans gets to shut down corners every week. Like, it doesn't matter if, in real life, if all things were equal, that Evans is the better receiver or not.
He's definitely the better receiver.
Shadowed. Yeah, and he's the one that's getting shadowed by, Marcus Latimer and guys like that. And, they don't go into the slot. So good for Godwin, though, because he's taking advantage.
Yeah, no, he's a good player. He really is, and it's a great opportunity for him. But you can replace him more easily than you can replace a Mike Evans, a player like Mike Evans, in the role that he does. I mean, Auden Tate's not going to go to Tampa Bay and be Mike Evans. But you can pull slot receivers are... they're the talk of the town. Every team has a slot receiver, and they do well, and it's by design, and all these teams have them, and you could get another one easier. But this is fantasy football, and Godwin's at the top of the PPR scoring for wide receivers through 5 weeks.
Yeah, I made a trade for him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I made a trade for him. Well, he was the centerpiece of the trade, but we'll get into that on the patron, patron hangout.
We're going to get into some other stuff too. I'm going to do a little complaining on the patron episode.
I had a context trading thing I wanted to get into, but we're going to save that for the Patreon. I think we're going to wrap the show up tonight. I think we've been going for about 2.5 hours now, roughly.
No, man. I think
time.
It's definitely less than an hour, but we'll see.
All right, whatever. Look, our people got things they need to do, and if they want to hear more of us, like I said, just check us out on the Patreon, Dynasty Trades HQ. Join our Patreon. Join our Patreon page and become a patron.
It's tough to say, man. You're a patron on our Patreon page, and we thank you.
Yeah, and become a patron because patrons are awesome. And if you don't feel like doing that tonight, do it tomorrow. That's fine. But also give us a rating and review on the iTunes because that's where people get to know you from. I'd like to make it on one of those cool lists where it's like top fantasy football podcasts, and I'd see us. I'd probably drop dead and die, and that would be awesome. So let's hear from our friends at bestfantasyfootballleague.com.
bestfantasyfootballleague.com. Join a 12-team Dynasty startup draft today. Leagues start at just $49 and go up to $999. Starting lineups of 1 quarterback, 3 running backs, 4 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and 2 flex spots. They also have best ball leagues, weekly leagues, and redraft leagues with 6 different starting lineup options in 10, 12, and 14 team leagues. bestfantasyfootballleague.com. The best fantasy football leagues on the net.
Cipes has you trained well, man.
All right, guys, that's it for today. Whenever you're listening to us, you'll hear from us next week. And give us a shout out on the Twitter there. Let us know what you think about tanking, what you think is okay and what is not okay.
Yeah, we appreciate all our listeners. Thanks again, guys. We'll catch you next week.
Say goodbye, Shane.
Goodbye, Shane.